Tarot in a movie, the episodes where I ask Tarot what happens in any movie. Today we're going with the Addams Family, the 1991, kind of the original live action version. Fantastic cast. It is such a timeless movie. I love it so much, especially around this time of year. It's definitely in the rotation. And I wanted to, like, if we step back from the characters and kind of the fantastic elements behind it, the characters do deal with absolutely real situations, things like estranged family, things like power dynamics within a family, general relationships. All of that stuff is super relevant, especially when we read tarot and we take information from that intelligence and distill it down using the symbols there. So for this episode, we're going through just the original. We're going to see what tarot turned out when we ask the question. So when we do this, I'll just shuffle the cards and I'll ask, what happens in the Addams Family. Show me what happens in that movie. And then when the cards come out, hopefully they will tell us a story that is parallel to this one. And it's not necessarily going to be frame for frame and, we'll have pictures of the characters. We will have pictures, like all the cards will, they'll tell us kind of the themes of the movie or what's being experienced in there. So I'm going to cut, and the next scene will be us looking at the spread that I put down for this movie. I'll see you in a minute. Welcome back. Here is the spread that I just cast to talk about what happens in the Addams Family movie. I always do a 22 card spread for this kind of thing because there are no fixed positions and the cards are free to interact as they please. The only things that are generally consistent about this type of spread is that the first two cards will be the most important. They'll be the most, they'll say the most. The center card will also say the most, or not the most because that doesn't make sense, but it will also say a lot. And you can rely on that. So first to the center, sometimes the corners, and then the card off to the side. This came from the bottom of the deck. And what I will say about this one that came from the bottom of the deck, its only message was to say that someone was coming back. And when you pull it from the bottom and you look at it, this is kind of the undercurrent. It's kind of the theme of the movie. There'll be other things that tie into that, but you can count on the card that comes from the bottom of the deck that you put off to the side to kind of show you what is unsaid, but it's still relevant. So let's talk about those first two cards. So we got the Nine of Ghosts and the Four of Imps. And I just also forgot to tell you just now, and it's very obvious at this point, I'm using the Halloween Tarot. If you've ever used it, it's very fun. Modeled fairly closely after the Smith Rider-Waite. Lots of parallel, easy to follow. Like if that's how you started, was with a more traditional deck, this is a great other deck to go with because you're still dealing with pretty much the same images. So if you are a visual reader and you kind of need those to prompt your thoughts, this is an excellent deck for that. So ghosts are cups and imps are wands. So we got the Nine of Cups reverse effectively, and we've got the Four of Wands reverse effectively. And this is about Fester rediscovering his past. So when we meet him as Gordon, that's like it's a constructed persona for him. So the Nine is showing that solitary or individual discovery of how a person fits in their community or family, as seen by the blending with the Four of Wands, Four of Imps. So the Four of Imps can show a person who's living a life on the outside that doesn't reflect the inside. So Fester's struggling with the foundational issue, and it gets harder to stick to his Gordon identity as new information is revealed to him throughout the movie that helps him remember who he was. So if we move to the heart of the matter, the heart of the spread, we've got the King of Pumpkins here. Of course, the King of Pentacles is what that is really. So we definitely have that King of the Castle kind of story. And this King of Pumpkins is going to show us, I think, Gomez and the family and Fester, like the plot shift there. And I'll just tell you why. Like it really, a lot of cards can do many jobs, especially in a spread like this. So we do have, so the first iteration of the King of Pumpkins here would be Gomez himself. So he's the one, at the start of the movie, he's running the family, managing the finances with the accountant. And I know he's not who would immediately come to mind for the King of Pumpkins, like to pair it, like to put the two together in comparison and say like they're the same person. How does that make sense? I think it does a little bit, because the thing about the King of Pentacles and all of the Pentacles court cards, they are super subtle, and they have the drawing energy. So they're not outwardly kind of pulling you in. They're doing it very quietly. It's just like it's something that comes off of them. They have some sort of magnetism to them. They don't have to say anything generally. You just know that there's something that they have that you want to be a part of. And like Gomez definitely has that kind of like sensual, not very very aware, but still kind of aloof nature that the King of Pentacles / Pumpkins would share too. He also knows the secrets of the house, the family. So as a descriptor of the family and of the environment, King of Pumpkins, there's so much stuff around them. Sometimes he's lost in the background of all the things that he's overseeing. And that's why he's subtle, right? Because he's not out in the open. He's kind of blending into the background, but still pulling all the strings. So because there's a lot of things, they have a lot of collections, I think that King of Pumpkins is a really good way to show that. So here's the third part. Here's how the King of Pumpkins switches to a different role, and that is an event. So when Fester comes into the picture, he was supposed to be the one who runs the family, so managing the house and the resources, but then he disappeared. So the card's showing us the plot shift when Fester takes over and casts the family out of the home they've, like the only home they've ever known. So with Judgment above it, we see that like that dawning of a new age event happening. So they were getting messages, or trying to get messages from the other side, doing the seance. And then the event that causes that, like that great change, like now the movie's really beginning, is when they get to the door and, oh my gosh, Fester's there. Oh, that reunion. Down below, we have the Seven of Ghosts, so Seven of Cups, and we have that space of indecision, stagnation. And a few places in the movie, we have characters who are watching life instead of participating in it. And then over here, so the cards that connect to the center one generally also have something to say. And I think that's the case here too, with the Emperor reversed on the side of the King, showing us how Fester denies his humanity and like kicks his family out and takes the side of the people who are absolutely no good whatsoever. They're people who are greedy and opportunists, and they don't care about anything. So they were able to get Fester as the holder of the power to betray his own family and take their side and do what they want. Some other cards of note. By the way, like if you do a spread like this, not every single card is going to have something important to say. Sometimes they're just dead cards. Sometimes they just add little visual elements. So like the crossed arms here, you know, how Wednesday sleeps in her bed. That it could easily be something like that. But a couple other cards I did want to point out. So the Eight of Pumpkins reversed, you know how Fester is running through the house at some point trying to figure out where the vault is. And it's a secret, right? A couple times in the movie, we see Gomez disappear and he pulls a couple of things and then suddenly, oh, he's in the vault or he's going to find something. So then we have Fester trying to do the same thing, trying to figure it out. But his memory's still blocked. So he keeps taking the wrong approach, trying to find the vault, getting misdirected, redirected. He even got flushed out of the house at one point. So that can be very well captured in the Eight of Pumpkins / Pentacles energy. Just like no matter what you do, it's just not turning out. The Chariot isn't super significant for this, other than the family rides around in a car that doesn't look all that different from this one. I think this one's a hearse here in the card, but it still has the front part of the car that the Addamses ride around in. So I thought that was kind of neat. 3 of pumpkins reversed. So we also have like one's natural state being suppressed by what others say or impose. And like, I know, the upright, we have that collaborative, cooperative aspect, but in the 3, we have the influences of others stifling. So almost like, if you can imagine someone pressing down on one's, a person's creativity or a person's desire to do something, that's what the reversal can do as well. And that's what we see, the pressure that constantly gets put on Fester to carry on the plan to take all the money and figure out what all the gold is and blah, blah, blah. Strength down here, so being trapped by our desires and trying to tame and balance our destructive natures. That one was pretty good. There's also a rug in the movie. I think it's a bear rug, but for some reason it reminds me of the lion's face here. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then we also have 2 cards. We got 2 of bats, 2 of pumpkins, 2 of imps. So we have those whenever we've got the 2s together, we're trying to figure something out, or there's a choice of some kind, or to figure out which way to go. So a lot of choices, a lot of options. The Lovers reversed is kind of reinforcing that sense there. And we also have some confusion. So that all makes sense. This is definitely... I'm satisfied that the tarot successfully told me what happened in the Addams family, for sure. But if you see something that I didn't, and I imagine that is definitely going to be the case because I don't pick up everything every time. If you saw something neat that you, like, oh man, I can't believe you missed this, feel free to put it in the comments. I'll do my best to respond, but for the benefit of anyone else who comes after who wants to see it, that'd be fantastic.